and today we are going to be watching Can You Pass a Medieval Math Exam? Before you ask, yes, I am old, but I am not old enough to have taken this standardized as a test, but I will take it today to show you that I'm the smartest person in Twitch chat. Let's check it out.
Are you smarter than a medieval student?
Yes,
Well,
don't do that to me.
let's take a look at this school textbook from the year 1478.
I can't even read the book. And it's over.
To find out. This is the Treviso arithmetic, and it was the first printed
The material in the section below is translation of the Treviso. Oh, that was. I thought that was the actual book.
arithmetic textbook in Europe. The Treviso arithmetic was written for students in Italian Abaco schools. This was a 2-year course, typically for boys aged about 11 to 16.
Okay.
They were mostly the sons of merchants.
Oh, wait, girls weren't allowed to go to school? That's why we went to Mars to get more cars. And you guys went to Jupiter to get more stupider.
Shopkeepers, artisans, and clerks.
No, we did not go to the Sandwich Making Academy! Watch your mouth!
They were being sons of merchants, shopkeepers, artisans, and clerks. They were being prepared for trade, bookkeeping, commercial travel, and city administration.
Cool.
Treviso was a city in northern Italy.
Is this before or after the Titans attacked?
Part of the trading networks connecting Venice to the rest of Europe. Trade routes passed through it, bringing goods like cloth, spices, sugar, and metals. The word Abaco comes from the Latin
Abacus!
but...
Come on, tell me I'm smart. Come on. You know what? Yeah, I'm listening, come on. Come on!
Abaco schools were not actually teaching the bead frame calculations. Instead, they taught algorithm.
Did they really have to do it like that? Like, can you imagine you're just trying to count and do some math and some guy crop dusts you while he's using his giant protractor?
Teaching the bead frame calculations. Instead, they taught algorithm, which was calculation using the Hindu Arabic numerals written on paper. Addition, subtraction, multiplication, division, fractions, currency conversion, interest, profit sharing, and algebraic problems written in words.
Cool.
Students were learning...
Wait, if these are algebraic word problems, did they still have the same thing, but it would be like, Johnny bought 5,000 loaves of bread. How many more did he eat in 2 years? You know what I'm trying to
the
say?
kinds of mathematics needed to convert currencies between cities, calculate profit on cargo, divide business partnerships, and measure debts and interest. In other words,
They
the
still had
math
debt?
of everyday capitalism. We do not know who wrote the Treviso arithmetic because it is anonymous, and no author's name appears in the book, and none
Aw, wait, he was a humble king.
is known from records. But the copy I have here was translated into English by Frank Swets in...
Wait, you said, I'll translate that. That was me. My name's Frank.
1987. Together with his commentary, this volume of the book is titled Capitalism and Arithmetic. Taking a look inside the textbook, we see this is a scan of a real untranslated page where the owner has scrawled their name, Marco Bellarami. 450 years ago, Marco was probably sitting in class doing the exact same exercises we're about to try. The book is structured like a curriculum full of repetitive exam-style problems.
Addition, 3 and 9 makes 12. Yeah, that's true. And also 3 minus 9 is 7. Yeah, truing.
There's a multiplication table, reminder of addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division, and examples of how they work. You'll see the words lira, soldi, and ducats. These are some of their coins. Let's take a look at some questions.
Okay.
First question. If 1 yard of crimson is worth 5 ducats, what will 85 yards be worth?
85 divided by 5. 9 is 45. Wait, times. Wait. Watch this. Okay. I'm going to show you. Actually, first, can I show you something that we did in school? I'm going to show you the dots. They taught us this in 1843. So the way you count when you're a child is 1, 2, 3. You touch the numbers. 4, 5, 6. You got to loop this one. 7, loop. 8. Got to go back twice. 9. And this one's crazy. Stay with me. Triple back. So if you want to add 4 and 5, you go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Does anybody else do this? And how do you count when you're an adult? Interesting question, chatter. I would say like that or on my fingers. So 85 times 5. Look, this is why I showed you. 5, 10, 15, 20, 25. Carry the 2. 5 times 8. 8, 16, 24, 32, 30, 40. 42? 40. Fuck. Wait. What is it?
This one is very easy. I think you can solve it. Remember, no calculators. I would write it like this, just as they've done. 5 times 5 is 25, and carry the 2.
That's what I said! I said 42! Whoever said 415 in chat, you need to go back to ye old school!
8 times 5? Well, we can check the table if we want. It's 40. So 425 ducats.
That's what I said!
This is a merchant trader example.
That's what I
Crimson
said!
cloth was expensive dyed fabric, often imported. Similar questions on this page involve trading silver and saffron. Second question.
Dude, saffron is that really expensive spice, right? Like, it's like $9 million to buy saffron, but I think it's because it's the way it's harvested or something.
If 100 pounds of sugar are worth 32 ducats...
If 100 pounds... This is so embarrassing. If 100 pounds of sugar is worth 32 ducats, so 100 over 32, I guess you could divide that. That's kind of a hard number. 100 divided by 32, what will 912 pounds be? Okay. This is a great place to start, right? This is how you start. Okay. So then, this is the across and the across. And you can divide by numbers, right? So this would be 132. You could divide, could you divide these by 2? Guys, I'm a VTuber for a reason. So you could go in halvesies. So this would be 50 over 32. Is that 16? And then you could go again. So maybe like 25 over 8. Can you do that? And then, CT, put some crazy music on this shit. Is that right? Then, 20, like this. And then you can do 8 times this divided by 25. Yeah. Just know I know how to do it.
What will 9,812 pounds be worth? The hardest part of this is they don't use decimals, so we will need to convert the answer to use smaller coins. A combination...
Oh! And the game was rigged! How the hell was I supposed to know to use nickels and dimes?
...of ducats, grossi, and pizzoli. There are 24 grossi in a ducat and 32 pizzoli in a grossi.
Okay, this sounds like somebody's explaining how to play a board game for the first time, and I have no idea what's happening.
In the solutions, they do 32 times 9,812.
What'd I say? Isn't that what I just did?
Haters, haters,
Then
haters.
divide by 100. They get 3,139 ducats, and then 84 is the remainder. These 84 are reduced to grossi first. 84 100ths of a ducat times 24
Duck
is
it. I'm not doing all this math. Duck it.
2,016 hundredths, or 20 grossi with 16 remaining. 16 hundredths of a grosso times 32 is 512 out of 100, and that's 5 with 12 remaining. And that final 12 over 100 is left as a remainder. That simplifies to 3 over 25. So the final answer is 3,139
Duh.
ducats, 20
Yeah.
grossi, 5 pizzoli, and 3
And a
25ths.
partridge in a pear
In my
tree.
last video, I covered the Liber Abaci by Fibonacci. A
Wow,
couple
wait! That's the guy from Balatro!
of 100 years earlier, it introduced to Europe the Hindu-Arabic numerals and new computational methods. The Treviso arithmetic shows what happened after that knowledge spread and became normal classroom mathematics. An anonymous publication was not unusual for schoolbooks of this period because it was not a display of originality, it was a practical
Hands.
teaching manual written to be used, not admired. But
Mm.
importantly, this book was printed, and that tells us a lot. The printing press had only arrived in Europe
Gutenberg.
about 30 years earlier. Printing a textbook only makes sense if there are a lot of students learning the same material. That tells us that Abaco schools were somewhat widespread, standardized, and economically important enough
His head is so tiny. Maybe it's because I'm used to looking at VTuber models.
But that needs to size up.
to warrant the cost of printing. Third question. I have 9 yards and 2/3 of cloth, 2
Okay,
yards and 3/4 wide,
put it together.
which I wish to make into a garment. I wish to line this with cloth 1 yard and 1/8 wide. How much do I need?
Okay, 9 yards and 2/3 cloth. Wait, so is that when you do the multiply by the top or the bottom, but then you make it into a big fraction? So 9 and 2/3 would be 18 over... Wait, 18 over 3? That's not right. That's not right. I don't know.
I would draw 2 rectangles to understand that we want to find the area of the first cloth and then divide that by the width of the lining to find the unknown side, which is
Yeah.
the length of the lining.
You guys remember that I was a child laborer for NASA? We had to do this. I hope the astronauts made it.
We get 2,552 out of 108. The author actually made a mistake here.
Oh, okay. Yeah, how am I supposed to learn off a book that doesn't even know what it's teaching? Thank God we didn't even try
It's a
it.
tricky fraction, but merchants would have memorized a lot of multiplications, including up to 25 or 30 times tables.
Is there any advantage to being a merchant? Like, you just sit there all day and do math and, like, have to deal with people getting pissed off. So you got to do HR. You also have to do customer service. Then you have to be really smart and go to school. Wait, you make a lot of money. But then if you make the money, then you spend the money to make more money. But what if you die before you make the money back because it was back in the day and everybody lived to like 15? Oh my God, just screw society. I'm going fishing.
They could quickly find that it's between 24 times 108 and 23 times 108 and subtract the difference. It's 23 and 68 out of 108,
Yeah.
which divides by 4 to give 23 and 17 over 27. A trained merchant could do calculations like that probably quite quickly in their
Really?
head. Since these students
In their head? What has happened to society?
were often the children of merchants, they would commonly attend school only part-time while working in family
Oh.
businesses.
Child labor.
Teachers demonstrated methods, then students copied and solved similar exercises repeatedly.
Wait, when does the TI-84 get invented? Like, that's got to be a crazy meta.
There was no formal exam system, but finishing the course meant you could work as a merchant's clerk or apprentice. Fourth question. A hare is 150 paces ahead of a hound, which pursues
Wow.
him. The hare
Uh-oh.
covers 6 paces, while the hound covers 10.
Ye old train problem.
Required is to know how many paces the hound has made when he overtakes the hare. So the hound gains 4 on the hare every time he takes 10 steps. 150 divided by 4 is 37.5. So it will be 375 steps. Fifth question. 3 merchants have invested their money in a partnership.
Okay.
Whom, to make the problem clearer, I will mention by name. The first was called Piero, the second Polo, and the third
shirt?
Zwain. Piero put in 112 ducats, Polo 200 ducats, and Zwain 142 ducats.
They had the stock market back then?
At the end of
I mean, I guess they got to stock goods somehow.
a certain period, they found they had gained 563 ducats. Required is to know how much falls to each man, so that no one shall be cheated.
The first. Okay, so you're just finding the percentage that they all put into like the big one. So then you just add 112, 200, 142. You get the main thing, and then you have to divide it and give everybody a percentage of the share. See?
For each one, we'd want to do 563 multiplied by their investment out of 454, which is the total invested. This big pile of numbers with
I'm
things struck
smart.
out is them doing a division. They're choosing a trial digit, multiplying it and subtracting to see what the remainder might be. They want to know how many times does 454 go into this big number on the top.
Yeah.
You can read it as trying multiples of 454 until one fits. Here are the 3 parts of the solution to this problem.
I'm not
Later
doing all
in
that.
the book is another illustration of that kind of division.
What? Do we gotta draw like the flag and the bridge?
It's also called galley or scratch
What the
division.
hell?
And maybe this is the first doodle seen in a maths class.
And the pubes?
There's also the first printed example of modern long
Hey, I said no sketching in your math problem 0.
division, done a different method. This is 53497 divided by 83. And all of this sits in the middle of a bigger intellectual debate at the time. There was a rivalry between 2 camps, Abacists and algorists. This illustration shows the spirit of arithmetic presiding over a contest between them. Abacists use the counting
What side are you on?
board or abacus, and algorists use numbers and algorithms. The abacists had the advantage of speed, at least initially when these written calculations were still new. A trained abacus user could add or multiply extremely quickly by moving beads.
Ooh, they should fight each other with their weapons of choice. Like, they have to beat each other up with the abacus, or they have to use, like, their minds, I guess.
There were also
Pieces of
fewer
paper.
writing or copying errors. The algorist methods came from Indian and Arabic mathematics and spread into Europe through scholars like Fibonacci. Instead of moving beads, you wrote numbers on paper. Not everyone embraced it straight away because it broke from the familiar and trusted methods. Also, paper was expensive. Here's
Oh,
another
yeah, dude, can you imagine? Now we just be throwing it around everywhere, writing some BS on pieces of paper that we're just gonna not even use.
illustration describing it as a computing controversy. But the algorist method offered an audit trail and a record of the entire calculation, making trades easier to track, and it was easier to learn and master than an abacus board.
Honestly, I don't really know the last time I wrote on a piece of paper. Nowadays, I just type everything or use my phone. So anytime I do have to write on a piece of paper, my handwriting looks like crap.
You could stack columns, carry digits, work with fractions, solve algebraic problems. And once that method spread, mathematical literacy suddenly became accessible to many more people. Merchants might once have hired specialists to do calculations for them, but
She
with
looks
the written
judgy.
algorithms, they could learn the skills themselves. Abaco schools were where this new mathematical literacy was taught. So why are they called Abaco schools if they taught algorithm? Well, because the word Abaco gradually came to mean practical arithmetic, even when the abacus itself wasn't being used.
Beautiful dog.
So, would you pass an Abaco school exam?
Yeah.
These students trained intensely for about a year or two. They memorized tables and solved hundreds of problems by hand.
I could do that.
Medieval math class didn't include calculus because that hadn't been invented yet. That would come in the late 1600s.
The better I do on my test, do I get a bigger wig?
As you can tell, I graduated top of my class.
I used the equal sign in some of my working for these questions, but that wasn't introduced until 1557. And the multiplication sign not until 1631.
Damn! Is that not kind of new? The multiplication sign that late?
Time of this medieval math class, there were
Holy
also
crap!
no logarithms, no coordinate geometry, and no probability theory. If you think these questions look too easy, just remember you've had the benefit of 500 years of refinement in how this mathematics is taught. Students like
I went to college.
Ballarami didn't. Over those centuries, we've slowly discovered something important.
What?
Maths is much easier to understand
With a calculator.
You can see it and interact with it,
That too.
instead of just memorizing rules from a page. That's why I like today's sponsor, Brilliant. Brilliant teaches math and science in a very different way. Instead of watching lectures, you actually solve problems step by step, interacting with the ideas as you go.
Guys, this is gonna sound like so fake. Okay, listen and learn from me. I got 100 in Cal 2. I'm not even kidding. I was very good in school. But the problem is, the more I streamed, the more stupider I got. I'm not even lying. Like, I, for some reason, have gotten more dumb.
You're not just reading formulas, you're playing with them. For example, their course on coordinate transformations,
That's just getting older. So when I get older, I get more stupid. I have to pay more taxes. I have to grow up and get a job. I also have to make it to where what was the other thing I was going to say? Oh yeah, can't play video games as well because my inputs are way worse. Is there anything good about getting old?
Really explores some of the ideas that are super useful to us now, but didn't even exist yet in medieval classrooms. Today, mathematics is much more than just merchant arithmetic. It's a language that unlocks the world. It's a foundation of science, engineering, computing, and understanding nature. If you want to try Brilliant yourself,
Senior menu. Okay, so I get a discount on my moons over my hammy?
you can learn for free for 30 days at brilliant.org/Tibees, and Brilliant is offering my viewers 20% off an annual premium subscription, which gives you unlimited daily access to everything on Brilliant.
Yippee!
So if you're curious to explore maths in a much more interactive way, scan the QR code on screen or check it out
I could do that
below. Thank you to my Patreon supporters for making my videos
Sorry,
possible.
I'm in the way.
On the screen now are the names of patrons who have joined at the gold tier. And a
That was awesome.
special shout out to today's patron cats of the day, Autumn and Junie.
Cute! Thank you so much for watching. I super appreciate it. If you're new here, make sure to subscribe and come by the Twitch stream, twitch.tv/BerryCrepe, or use code Berry for 10% off your gamer subs order. We just did some math and some calculations, so you know that is a good deal. I would super appreciate it. Have a great evening. Goodbye, YouTube! Goodbye, goodbye, goodbye!